Welcome back to another Motorsport Minute. We are on episode 3. I am your host, Mitchell Bettenhausen. Before we get into today's podcast, I would like to shine some light on why we do what we do. Without getting the youth into the motorsport world, we won't have motorsports. So this next little clip shows you why we do what we do.
Thank my mom, my dad, my grandpa, and grandma, and time of Motorsports for sponsoring me.
This past weekend was the points series end for the North Dakota Motocross Association. The little clip you just seen was one of Timeless's sponsored athletes. He finished in the top 5 in his class for the year. Means the world to us to see him finish in the top. And as you can see in the video, it means the world to him. That's why we do this. We want to see the youth get involved. We want to help grow all of the motorsport industry, everything. Like we say all the time, we want to be a part of all of it. But we can't do so without you guys helping us out. Go hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. Who do you think our next guest should be? And thanks again for watching. We're going to head right into this episode with Nevada. Thanks. All right. Well, thanks, Nevada, for hopping on today. Another episode of Motorsport Minute, where we talk to all the different people in the motorsport world, trying to get the youth involved and just see what's going on out there.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm glad you messaged me this morning looking for somebody. I know, kind of emergency planning, but whatever, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It seems like every week I have 2 or 3 guests ready to hop on, but I don't know. Someone always cancels. I do think the nerves get to people.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, not that I've done it a bunch, but I've done it a few times, but try to listen to quite a few different ones. So I got a little bit of an idea of what goes on. So, but yeah, I definitely get people don't like to talk, especially in the motorsports world as well. It's probably a tough audience to try to get guys committed in different things, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they think they're supposed to be on a script, but I always tell them you can just say whatever you want. That's what we're here for. That's why we started this. You know, people to hear your opinions, voices, and I don't know. I don't think you got to be too censored either.
Yeah, and some of the podcasts that are like more scripted or more corporate or whatever you want to call it, like those ones just, I don't know, just don't seem to flow as good, I think, or well, they flow good because they're made that way, but just you don't get honest personalities don't show out unless somebody's really talented at it, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and that's, we just want people's real opinion on why they do it and how they got into it and those sort of things. So
Right.
I guess with that, I'll start out. What got you into the motorsport world, business, kind of all of that?
Yeah. So I guess like my family was always on the fair board growing up, so I was always around the show here in town in Bowman, and Baker's not too far away, so kind of would always go to those as when I was really little and growing up, and just was always kind of in to watching different motorsport stuff, no matter kind of what it was, I guess. Grew up on a farm, so when I was really little, spent a lot of time kind of by myself, so just ended up killing time in the house watching that stuff, until I got old enough to help. But always been into derby that way. Lucky, we're down here in the oil field type stuff, or were back then anyway. It slowed down a lot, so there was a lot of guys, old time guys, that derbied around close, so it was always pretty good shows at both of those, and a lot of cars and a lot of people I knew through family and different things. So just kind of grew up watching it, and eventually when I got old enough to have my own car, built that. Luckily I had guys that helped out, older guys, definitely way different than when they ran and different than the first car I built, but had a lot of good help from different ideas. So kind of got started that way to learn the basics, and then grew it from there, meeting guys that built better cars and different cars and going to different shows to watch and meeting people, and just really escalated from there. And I guess then started the graphic deal a couple in 2020 when Corey and Tyler ran Carnage, and kind of messed around with the graphics deal a little bit and did two for them down there. And I guess kind of just grew up from that for the most part.
Sure. Yeah, and not just derbying. Your family's kind of into other things as well. I think I seen does your dad do some drag racing?
My wife's dad, my father-in-law, has a drag car. He's got a 67 Belvedere with big block Mopar stuff. So he races in Sturgis most of the time. He'll go to Minot here and there. So it's kind of a cool car. It was like back in the early 2000s when it got built. It was like the first Mopar with a tubular K member that got built somewhere in Vegas or somewhere down there. So kind of a little bit of Mopar street cred history with the car. So it's kind of cool that he has it. I guess you can find it in different magazines and write-ups on it. So it's kind of neat. But yeah, he's big into it. That's another thing. When I was little, they used to have the airport drag races in town. So I always kind of had that side of it too. There's just a lot of things. I mean, small town stuff, motorsports are kind of one of the main things to go do, that and rodeo are kind of the biggest things, to pass time. But yeah, motorsports is way better.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've never really been into the drag racing, but it's something cool. I think you're maybe contemplating getting into the drag racing in the near future, or
yeah, there's a car sitting by my shop. It's got a long ways to go, but yeah, I bought a car a month ago, I suppose, a little Fox body. So pretty simple, pretty basic, but they're pretty easy to make go fast. So I'm going to try that, I guess, for a little bit till I don't want to say I'm getting out of derbying, but gonna kind of step away from running a little bit more. My daughter's almost two, so a little bit tough with her to try to get time to go out to the shop and work on it. And she kind of likes to come out to the shop and play with her toys or whatever, which building derby cars isn't super conducive to that, with just everything. So I'm gonna try something else for a little bit. And like I said, Kelsey's dad drag races, so we're gonna, I don't know, hopefully get a car and maybe do that a little bit more, I guess, where kind of everybody can go, and a little bit more relaxing for a couple of years till she maybe gets older or something else, I guess. And the graphic thing is starting to take up a lot of time. Like when that's really busy is when a guy should be, you're trying to build a car and then you still got orders to try to take care of and take care of the people that get stuff from you. And I just trying to balance it all gets tough.
Yeah, for sure. I think almost everyone I've talked to on the podcast or kind of behind the scenes, most people don't realize the toll it takes on a family, whether it's whatever, drag racing, derbying, motocross, anything. The family, even extended family, is always involved in some way, whether you're building a car all night long or, I feel I recently had a child as well. So it's harder to do things. I mean, not harder. It's just, you got to really plan more.
Yeah.
Like you said, having her come out in the shop isn't really ideal. I would say most of the wives in the derby world probably don't go out in the shop. I mean, there are some, but you take a lot of family time away with it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that can make it work with all their family and get the kids involved, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, knowing how difficult that is pretty nuts. I mean, to each their own. There's only so much time in the day, and you got to just kind of prioritize it. And I'm not getting away from the sport at all. I mean, I don't run a ton the way it is, but try to go to as many shows with stuff and help guys out and just kind of promote the business as much as I can, I guess. So, still be around. I didn't run a whole lot anyway, so.
Right. Did your family do anything growing up as far as, I know you went to like shows and things like that. Did your family run or build or? not a part of it?
Yeah, I was the first one. So started. My cousins built, a long time ago. I remember when I was pretty little, maybe even elementary still. My cousin worked for my parents over the summer, so he built a car in our shop. So it was around him doing it and just some different stuff. So no, I'm kind of the first, I guess, in my close family. Kelsey's dad ran back in the day too, but not that really made a difference. But that was before we were together. But yeah, pretty much started out on my own as far as parts and cars and whatever else. Didn't have 20 old irons sitting back that dad and uncle and grandpa had sitting in the trees for 50 years.
Yeah, no, I feel I didn't start that way either. Well, my old man derbied, but back in like '06 to '08 when scrap metal was super high, crushed, a lot of cars, a lot of cars. So I started from scratch too. But it takes time. That's what I always tell everyone, that starting in the sport takes time to build it up. But once you kind of got most of it, it doesn't really go bad in a sense. I mean, stuff breaks, but
Yeah.
a lot of it, like gas pedals and stuff, for the most part, are pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. I don't want to say it's advantage or disadvantage, but the guys that have family or close friends that are more into it, not even just like, oh, here's all the parts to do it, but the trial and error stuff is already kind of taken care of. And of course, Facebook helps a lot now as well. I mean, yeah, I've only derbied what 10 years, but Facebook's changed it so much in that time. But there's a lot of trial and error stuff that I spent time or money on when I was first starting. I wish I would have did differently, I guess. So, but the guys that have family that were involved or whatever, kind of the second generation or third or whatever, that learning curve is already kind of taken care of to a point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've even noticed a lot of guys that have a scrapyard friend or grew up with a scrapyard. I mean, some of the bigger derbiers across the United States.
Yeah.
And you always see that they, their dad or something had a scrapyard. It's a lot easier to get into it then.
Right.
For sure. So I guess switching gears a little bit, what got you into the graphics? Because I mean, it's kind of different than just, motorsports in general. It's, graphic design, stickers. That's kind of a different realm.
So I don't know, kind of a lot of different things. So my real job is agronomy sales. So you always see like that, like the advertising stuff that is involved in that. Like, with you, the cattle, like the bull catalog type, you always were around that and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And then, joining livestock, there's a little bit of that goes on, but, I don't know, in college doing different projects for class, like, oh, I was kind of always picky on how like things looked, when we did our projects and everything. So I had a little bit of that. And then, when I started full time after college at my job, just like the customer invite things we sent out and sales sheets that we made, like I was always particular on how they went and made them. And then I was like, well, kind of the next level, like Macs are pretty good as far as like the programs they come with, like making some of that stuff. But like then the next level, I was like, kind of talked to my boss and different things. And I was like, we should really get, Illustrator or whatever and
Yeah.
shop in different things to do more and do it nicer and more professional, And so I did that and messed around with it for work. And then, Corey was running Carnage. Corey Miller was running Carnage in 2022. And I was like, I want to make a wrap. And I had no idea that part of it, And obviously you saw some of the, I think Engstrom, when I started, Engstrom was doing it. And I think 448 was, and there was probably a couple other at GH, a couple other little ones, but he's seen what they did and didn't. I mean, I don't want to copy what someone else does. I want to try to have my own style, and the dirt track graphic stuff is cool. So, kind of tried to look and get as many ideas and just do it that way, and made there too. And had a few guys talk to me there at Carnage, and didn't know I did it, which I didn't know either till then. So did that, and then I think the next maybe did one or two different ones until kind of Mott's team show that year. That was the first. Carnage was in March, and that was like right when COVID really started, or you started hearing about COVID.
Right.
And I remember coming back from Carnage. We were driving. I think we ended up stopping in Sioux Falls at like midnight, 1 o'clock that morning after that Sunday on the way back. And we went in the hotel, got a hotel just to kind of sleep till, drive the rest of the way home. And Corey tried to pay with cash, and the guy at the counter was like, well, we don't accept cash right now because of COVID. And I was like, what in the heck are you talking about? Because, we were down at Carnage, so, you're working on cars and not really paying attention on your phone and different things. So, the whole news thing of that week didn't really pay much attention to. That's kind of when it, blew up, and then we got back. That's when it, really blew up. So, all those early summer shows kind of got canceled. So Mott was the first one that year that, everybody signed up for it, because it was, a lot of people thought that might be the only chance of running that summer. That's weird to think about now, but I think that was a pretty realistic deal. So I want to say, I think I had 10 teams at Mott I think I had half of them, which, Mott's close. That's the next closest show to me besides the one here in town. So, a lot of local guys ran it, so that helped. But yeah, I did a bunch for that, and yeah, it kind of blew up from there. And then, of course, that fall they didn't do Blizzard Bash, so I think Blizzard Bash got pushed to March in 21, right? Or am I a year off somewhere?
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right in the right.
Yeah, so I was gonna do. I don't know. Well, yeah, so I did a bunch that year, and then just kind of randomly, then the team show in Sydney, Caleb's, or I don't remember what they called it, but the Bach and Beat Down team show, I guess, basically. Did a team for that, and then, yeah, pretty much really took off the next spring. Or no, they didn't. Blizzard Bash never was in the spring, was it? Because they were going to have it that next spring instead of Carnage, and then they didn't, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, everything was all kind of messed up from COVID.
Skipped a year.
Right.
Yeah, so the team show that fall, and then it really blew up after that.
Yeah, you see your designs and your graphics kind of all over, not even just cars. I think I seen you were doing just promotional stickers on the side of people's vehicles, or work trucks and coolers and welders and kind of all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so again, I'm kind of got lucky, but there's a guy in town that owns a print shop or whatever, and I work with him, so I do a lot of designs for him, and mostly my own designs, but I help him out with some different things, and then he has the printers and stuff, and the goal is to eventually kind of buy him out. So we just have kind of a partnership like that type of deal. So I've been lucky, because then I can do my full-time job and just do my design stuff, and the time consuming part of printing and that part of it, he just takes care of that for me, I guess. So I think I do a lot more than if I was trying to do it myself type of deal. So that works out well. But yeah, so do some logo design, vehicles for people's companies. My wife and I used to show livestock when we were in high school, so I've done quite a few champion award banners for classes like that, stall sign stuff. Yeah, motorsports is definitely the focus, just because that's what I like. If I'm gonna spend time running around to stuff, I'd rather go to that. But yeah, I've been pretty lucky with just knowing people to do their stuff and help out as much as I can, I guess.
Yeah, it's good to see a small business grow. I feel it. Sometimes it's hard to grow. Got to fall in the right space. Not only that, it is a grind. We're kind of in the same spot. You're big enough, but yet you're not quite big enough to do it on your own. So
Right.
That's how we feel too. We got a lot of stuff we're doing, but it's not quite enough to, have one person just quit their job and do it full time. And that's scary too, to do that.
It's super scary. I went to school for agronomy, so that's what I do for a living. So it's nice. To be like, yeah, what I did at college, I'm just gonna say screw it and do something completely different that I still just trying to figure it out. There's mean, pretty much every graphic design person that actually knows what they're doing is way better at it than I am. I know my niche, and I think I do a good job at what the niche is. But man, there's some people like, some of the stuff you follow on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Like some of those guys are so amazing. It's like, I don't even know how to even do that stuff. But yeah, to quit my real job on a whim to try to do that, there's a lot of things that need to fall into place first. It's tough.
Yeah, it shows though. I mean, you got in the derbying, and you don't have to just derby. I mean, you basically made a side job out of your passion, and I would say the way you talk about it shows that it's another passion of making the graphics. So, it's good to show people. Getting into the sport, you meet so many people. Not only that, you might even find something else that you like doing, and that's where you've ended up.
Yeah, and I'm super thankful for like the graphic side of it, just because like, yeah, I mean, there was friends that you had from derbying, but the I don't know, like, so pretty much everybody was a competitor. Not that I ran a ton, so it's probably not fair, but just thinking of guys that do, like, everybody's competition. But now that I'm a vendor per se, like, you try to build the brand and friends through your customers and different things. So like, yeah, like the guys that I've became friends, or even just business friends or customers that are friends or whatever you want to call it, is just, it's so amazing. I wouldn't trade it for like anything. Like the guys that I talk to all the time now, or order stuff all the time. So then you visit with them or see them at shows, and they come up and visit with you because they ordered a sign from you or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've told my wife a bunch of times, like, I think if I didn't have the graphic thing, it would have been a lot harder to step back from running, but I mean, I still get to go to shows, help, my friends with their cars. Like I have a reason to go because, like, oh yeah, I got 7 or 8 cars to do wraps for or take with. So then I can help my buddies, with their car, or just hang out or whatever. And yeah, so I'm not even close to stepping away from it. I mean, really doesn't change much other than not having a car to work on all summer, but it's all right.
Right. Do you plan to in the future expand it? I mean, maybe more. You said you got into stock cars, maybe, I don't know, dirt bikes to kind of anything, I guess.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me right now that probably is holding me back, or I don't know, just keeping me from doing other things, is the fact that I don't do it entirely myself. So like, working with that guy, like to do dirt bikes, it's a whole different vinyl. I've done a couple little things, but it's a whole different vinyl, whole different laminate material, everything. So like, I haven't done it because you need to have enough to justify like buying the material, and like the material goes bad after like a year or so. So if you can't use up the whole thing within a year, it's not really worth doing. And same with like the full vehicle wraps, or even like some of the race car vinyl is a different vinyl. So like, yeah, you got to be pretty committed and make sure you kind of have that business lined up before you jump in. So I kind of just stick with what I have and what I know, and just do it, I guess.
Yeah, no, well, we all appreciate it. I know, Timeless, we use you quite. I mean, basically every check we make every year comes from you, and I don't know, our orders usually, 15 to 20 of them a year.
Yeah,
With
no,
us growing, it's hopefully going to grow you too. We're all about helping out, someone else small as well, and we like that you help us out.
yeah, and that kind of goes back to the connection, friendship deal. Like, I mean, how many times did you and I talk before you guys started Timeless? I mean, maybe once, or like not very much. And same with a ton of guys. Caleb running his all in stuff. I mean, I've never talked to him before in my life, and then he got checks for the first, or I think it was the second or third beatdown or whatever. He ordered checks for me, and I mean, now I've done quite a bit. Now he's got a big deal, so do some stuff for him. Or Willie Lochner, like, never talked to him ever. He ordered stuff, or well, actually, Neil Moore was on his team at that team show, and then Willie started getting stuff, and I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, I send stuff to Washington all the time. Kentucky. I mean, it's so spread out now. It's pretty crazy, and it's fun. I mean, yeah, it's fun to have all sorts of different people to talk to and visit with, and have 20 people come up and talk to you every show you go to. And I'm not the best at names in the world, so some guys will come up and talk, and it's like, yeah, okay. And they're like, I need to order something from you. It's like, okay, just shoot me a message so I have it. What you need? Like, I'm really bad at that stuff, and you'd think I'd be better, but there's guys. Yeah, I don't know, don't recognize. Never even seen them before in my life, and some people that have like private Facebook things, like you try to creep on them just a little bit to get an idea of like their style or cars they ran or whatever to recognize them. And not everybody has it open where you can see everything, so it's like, okay, just kind of shoot from the hip. But they order more and more stuff, and all of a sudden randomly you'll see your stuff on somebody's live stream or whatever. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet the feeling of seeing your own artwork and your work put out for display, basically for anyone to see, that's a pretty good feeling. And some of the names you mentioned, they're some pretty big hitters in the industry. So getting in with them, making a quality product, which you do, it's only going to grow. And I've seen it. And you kind of see them all over. You see your pictures, and sometimes you got like 15, 20 wraps laying on the floor that you're taking pictures of, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and we're so lucky. I know I've listened to your other podcasts, and to a point, the question always gets brought up, like, is our sport dying? But then I kind of always thought of it like in North Dakota and, Montana, I guess, South Dakota, like pretty close to us. Like, we're so lucky, like the quality of builds and drivers we have, and like not a very far, like, just, I don't know, like it probably was more a few years ago, like at Blizzard Bash, but like just look at like a Blizzard Bash roster, national qualifying, limited. I mean, Zach and Brent and Brady and Eric, they've won the limited show 3 times. Those guys are all North Dakota. Eric, well, he moved farther west now, but he wasn't that far away. He was in Williston for a lot of years. Those guys have won 3 times. Mike and Tori, I mean, that's freaking right next to you. There's however many, John and the
Bernsteins. Yeah.
And I mean, it goes back, like Kyle Wetzel used to, do win Blizzard Bash 80s. Well, back when, I mean, we're so lucky the talent we have up here and quality of drivers. And yeah, we don't probably have the hugest car counts in the country, but man, the quality of guys that are running is just, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I know like the guys out east and south, whatever, like, they run and do well at Blizzard Bash and stuff, but to me, I've always thought that, whether it's, and mostly Blizzard Bash, I'd say bigger, not a ton of people go around Carnage, but every now and then we do have a few from up here. But that quality of national big time drivers and builds is right. It's here. I mean, those guys most of them run quite a bit all summer. I mean, Brady and Brent run every weekend. Tanner's in there. I know he doesn't run Blizzard Bash with them, but those guys run a lot. And yeah, so we're lucky in that, that really helps the guys like me that are trying to do the vending thing and build those connections of who buys stuff. Like, I mean, it was pretty, Mike and Tori are good friends, and it was pretty surreal to see those 4 national cars pull in the ring with my stuff on them. It was pretty cool. I mean, I know I had some kind of randomly at some other big shows, but yeah, to watch Blizzard Bash, and I wasn't down there that last year, but to watch them pull in on the live stream, like, it was pretty cool. I thought, I don't know, but I also look for that kind of stuff more than probably most people do. But
yeah, I mean, for some of the best drivers in the state going down and supporting you, I mean, let alone they're going down there, but they're supporting someone local. It means a lot. But I totally agree with you. We don't have a lot of drivers, but the drivers we do, we're pretty concentrated, high quality driver. I mean, anymore, if you go to a local show, a few of the names you mentioned, probably 6 or so out of those names always show up, and they're always, I mean, if you win or place against some of them. Even Dixon, he's another one from up north that he runs down there on a national team. And Hayes' team was at last year. They won the qualifying. So, I mean, the quality is through the roof. And there's a lot of guys around here that just run the single events too. I think even if you're competing in the stock or the 80s or compact, I mean, it's all quality drivers and builds down there. So it's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I'm just as much a Derby fan as a Derbier and a vendor or whatever, but like, so Corey Anderson ordered signs for Mulbridge for him and Chris Lancaster. And I was like, holy buckets, I'm doing Chris Lancaster's sign, like just watching Derby for a lot of years. Like, so I was like, that's a pretty big, they're pretty well known across the country, and, kind of list can go on. I can name a bunch of people, but I was like, holy buckets. Like, it was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, no, it is. That's a good feeling. Are you going down to Blizzard Bash this year?
Yep, I'm gonna go this year. So it'll be the first time I've been there for probably 6 years. So we went like the very first time Corey, Jacob, and I went. I don't even remember who really ran then. And then, of course, Corey's ran Carnage twice. So I went those 2 times with him. So kind of would always skip Blizzard Bash just because we were down there for Carnage. And then, yeah. So I'm excited to go this year.
Sure. Well, aside from the graphics and everything else, what's next? What's next in the world for you? I know you said you're kind of getting into maybe some racing a little bit, but just gonna kind of hone in on some family time.
Yeah. I know Ava turns 2 here in a month, so just kind of do stuff with her. But so the car I bought is just a roller, so that's kind of the winter project to kind of dive into that and see how much trouble I can get in. But yeah, kind of work on the drag car a little bit. I mean, it's kind of there'll be a little Christmas rush with the graphic stuff, but it's pretty, winter's kind of, it's steady. I mean, there's always stuff to do with it, but definitely not like getting closer to the year. I mean, Derby guys always wait till last minute, seems like, so, which is fine. But yeah, so there's that. Yeah, work on the race car, I guess. That's kind of the next deal as far as motor stuff goes.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's going to be a busy year for us next year, so we're kind of preparing for that. That's for sure. That'll be here before you know it.
That stuff a little bit more.
Yeah. I know we haven't always been the best about getting our orders in early, but trying to get better. Now that we have a admin lady, she's kind of prods us to get things done on a timely manner.
I'll just see you guys with Timeless. Seems like, what do you got, twice as many events this year as you did last year?
Yeah, I think rolling into 2023, we don't have 2 of them confirmed. Without those being even confirmed, we have 10 events next year. Not just derbies, all sorts of stuff, but yeah, we're basically every weekend of July we're booked. June, couple weekends. August, couple weekends. September. I mean, I think if we wanted to, we've had a lot of people call. We've actually turned a few down because we don't know. We want to do them, but well, that's your whole weekends, so we don't really get us time.
I hate to say it, but that's a good problem to have. Like, I don't know, to be at a point in like your guys' stuff and mine, or even my real job, to be at the point where you can like say no to things is kind of a cool feeling. Like, I don't know, like when I first started, it's like, I want to do everything. Like, someone's like, can you do this? Like, oh, yep, no idea. Like, just figure it out. But like, yeah, to be at the point to be like, nah, there's other people that can do it or whatever. Or, no, that's not what I do, or can't do it, is kind of a cool spot to be in. Not saying, I mean, it'd be different if I was trying to rely on this as a living, then maybe you try to do everything, but you don't have to. So it's kind of nice to be like, nope, that's, I can't do that, or whatever it is, or point them in the right direction. I get asked about shirts and stuff all the time. It's like, no, there's good people that do that. Like, just go to them. If you want, your logos or something designed, like, I could definitely help you with that. But yeah, go to those guys for t-shirts and whatever. So
no, for us, I mean, it's good to see where we've got with it. Especially because there was a lot of doubt in the beginning. I mean, we got a long ways to go. No, not toot my own horn or anything, but we got a long ways to go. I think we want to grow it way more, maybe more so grow some of the shows we already have, and go to bigger venues and things like that. But for now, I think it's trying to make what we have better instead of growing the events, just for weekend sake too. It is, my partner, he's got 3 kids, so it's pretty hard on the family. I know this past weekend was the first time he got away with his family since, January. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's tough. We try to do a lot of different things together as a family or whatever. And yeah, weekend you want to run to a show on a Saturday or something. I mean, it really throws a wrench. So hopefully now, I mean, Avery will be 2.5 next summer running to stuff. So maybe she can tag along a little bit more or whatever. And that's the goal eventually, I guess. But I don't know. It's exciting. And it's tough because like the car counts were down, but I mean, got to kind of look at the economy and different things that are going on. Like it's a big commitment for guys time wise and financials or whatever, but it's kind of exciting too. Like there's a lot of, I guess maybe I'm more looking ahead than most things, but like it's kind of exciting for Derby's at right now. I mean, there's a lot of big shows. Like I saw that what was it called? Like King of the Ring, or that show in Iowa or something that Kingman's like on.
Right.
I saw Jigs is sponsoring that, one of the like main sponsors, and I was like, that's so cool to have like a real parts, automotive manufacturer like throwing their hat in the ring when it comes to paying out at a Derby and different things. Like I mean, Jigs is like the parts place. I know Speedway has kind of got on board having a Derby section, and I know Summit or some of the oil places kind of vend down at Blizzard Bash, but like to see Jags on a Derby poster, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, and granted, I think it's kind of his social media TikTok thing. I think Jag sponsors that Kingman guy, but I was like, that's so. I don't know. I thought that was cool, but I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like that sponsorship stuff, or like some of the YouTube drag race car guys like Cletus McFarlane, like how Summit and all these places have jumped on with him. Like and I think that's why I was kind of, we were texting about the podcast and like you guys, like it's so cool. Like I think it's kind of the next good step for like the Derby thing to get more of a, I don't know, national or like a social media face. I know there's a lot of guys on Facebook and different things, and like I mean TikTok's full of Derby guys now, it seems like, but like I don't know, to have the Derby be more marketable to like a Jags or a Summit or something like that, I think is really going to help. And I don't know how much speculation or how much a guy should really talk about, but like I think there's a lot of big Derby things coming to our part of the world in the next year. Not even just you guys and like beat down and different things, but I think there might be a bigger show on the horizon if anybody watches Facebook close enough.
Yeah, no, I seen that too. And, like you mentioned, with this platform, it's small now and it'll be small probably for a while, but that's the end goal, is to start getting some of these bigger names, not even just Derby guys, car guys, maybe interviewing some of the larger companies. And I mean, yeah, it's maybe a pipe dream, but that's kind of where we'd like to head it, because we want everyone's view of it. We want to kind of shine the light on the motorsport world and get the younger crowd into it. If we're not helping out, they're not going to get into it.
Yeah, and it's tough because I know, I kind of compared to like maybe where Derby is right now to like the way like NASCAR stock car racing stuff was like in the 90s, 80s, 90s. So like where there's so many secrets, and then it kind of got more of a national brand type of deal. But like, Derby, for rightfully so, like there's a lot of money that goes into it and a lot of tips and tricks, but like we're so like secretive about anything. Like, look at the drag race or drifting guys on YouTube. I mean, they're building their car on camera and saying like, oh, this is what we're doing, this is the parts I use, and blah blah blah. And like I think we're a long ways away from that on Derby. And I don't know, you guys have said it on here before, but we're all kind of our own worst enemy when it comes to this stuff. Like there's a spot for everything in whatever motorsports it is. Like, the dirt track racing all the way up to NASCAR and F1,
Right.
Drag racing, local ET racing to Dragon Drives to NHRA. Like there's a spot for everybody to be in, and I think we got to accept that in Derby too. That the national Blizzard Bash cars aren't going to be what the normal dude that runs a county fair is going to build, and it shouldn't be. I mean, not everybody should build cars like that. There's got to be levels to every. There just is.
Right, right. Yeah, the Derby world around here is definitely secretive. I don't know, it'd be cool to see. I know they tried to start that TV series with the Derbying and kind of show more what's going on, but
Right.
I haven't seen much on it. I guess I probably would have to subscribe and
Yeah,
that.
that one, Derby Tease or whatever I think he is. Can't remember what his name is, but yeah, he was doing something. But I was kind of thinking of it while I was waiting for you to jump back on. But I always kind of like think of it like drag racing. Like I think like the way Street Outlaws was like when it first started, because like 1320 got like or videoed those guys racing down there, and then Discovery picked it up. And like when it first started, like I mean, those guys were pretty grassroots. Like they didn't have much, and then like it blew up, and then the cars just got so fast. And I think like in its heyday when they first started, like it really grew the popularity of drag racing again. You know, to kind of be obtainable for guys. And then like those cars just got stupid fast and pro mods, and like I mean they're basically NHRA pro mod cars that they drove on a concrete strip of some factory. But then they went into like no prep kings. Well, the random dude isn't gonna have some 3,000 horsepower pro mod like that. So then like as that was starting to grow, like the Motor Trend Hot Rod Drag Week kind of was. I mean, that was going for quite a while, but then it started more. And then now there's like Rocky Mountain Drag Week, there's Midwest Drag Week, there's Drag Week 2.0, there's Sick Week in Florida. So now there's all these like drag and drive deals where there's a lot of different classes and guys can do it. And it's more kind of back down to like the roots. And yeah, there's stupid fast cars and that stuff too. But like, you know, like it's more obtainable for everybody. And then, you know, of course, the YouTube people help that too. I mean, that's how popular it got. Like Terry, so my father-in-law said, like when Street Outlaws started to get big, like the drag strip in Sturgis, like guys would stand at so like Friday night down there, they do street legals where like anybody comes and races, but like there's a lot more cars there on Friday night than there is for the actual racing on Saturday and Sunday. But there'd be people start standing at the starting line and different things, like just like on TV and yeah, so it definitely changed the way that sport moved. And then now with the YouTube guys, it's kind of brought it back down, but now those guys have super fast cars too. So, but everything's just more transparent and feels obtainable to everybody. And I just think like for Derby to grow and like, I don't know, it just needs to be more like transparent to market itself better. You know, I mean, guys at Derby are like, or people at Derby are the best people in this country. I mean, we're all blue collar type, hardworking people. But yeah, I mean, that would do anything for anybody. And I just think that part needs to be marketed better. And the guys that are trying to do it are like, you know, Derby Tees and like the interviews at Blizzard Bash and Carnage and all these shows. Like, I mean, that helps, but I mean, it's still all a subscription deal, and I don't know what it would ever take to get it bigger than that. I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. That's what I see needs to happen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, social media has brought all of it a long ways, but
Right.
It does have room to go yet. I don't know. I don't know if that is getting it on an actual televised thing or not, but
Yeah, it's tough. I know it's I mean, got like Discovery and I think Motor Trend had one. I don't remember what they're all called. There's quite a few different ones. They've tried, but then it's the same thing. They were trying to do. I think Discovery had one. Some guys in Illinois or something. I don't know, but they tried to make it like Street All. And I know there's drama, but I hate how all them places like the Derby show they had. They tried to dramatize it and be like, you know, the guys fighting and like, yeah, that stuff happens, but happens in every sport. And I don't know if person need to move away from it a little bit. And like, I would be interested at like Blizzard Bash and stuff to look, you know, just kind of in Carnage too. I guess I shouldn't really talk about Blizzard Bash. I haven't been there for a few years, but like how many people are there, like just from closer to Pika that just come to Blizzard Bash or Carnage, you know, because there's a lot of people that you see that like you're like, man, no way they're here as a derby person. They're here to just watch the derby type of deal. Or like even like at Black Hills Beatdown, like how many people showed up for that, you know, that are just from Rapid or the area. And it's tough. And I don't know what that answer is. Hopefully we can figure it out before too long, but
Right. Yeah, and for people to highlight the drama of things, it's maybe good to like get a viewer's attention, but from like people trying to grow the sport, that's you know, I don't like seeing it. I hate seeing the drama. You know, in the perfect world I wish everyone got along, but that's just not how it is. But hopefully, you know, things like this show people it's not as bad as what it may seem, and they start getting into different things such as, you know, stock car racing or derbying or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the farther you move down on a level of a motorsport, the more drama there. I mean, I don't know. You watch Supercross. I mean, them guys are fighting and whatever, you know. But NASCAR, I mean, it happened last weekend. You know, they were fighting in that. So the drama is always going to be there, but hopefully we can move away from just like the personal drama to like more of the drama, like you know, Team CPI is against Calso style for this heat, like the drama of the actual event instead of just one guy versus another, you know, or like, you know, NASCAR, like, oh, it's the playoffs, like the 5-car, you know, something like that type of drama, like actually in the show. But it doesn't matter if it's a live sporting deal or the TV show is on TV now. The drama is the part that sells. So I guess I get that part of it. Just it's tough. Like I said, I don't have the answer, and I don't want to sit here and say we have all the answers. But like I said, that Jag sponsoring that one show in Illinois, like that's huge. In my eyes, that's huge. But like I said, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like that sponsorship and looking probably past it. Like a guy, I don't know, looking past some things, but that's what's gonna take it. Like, you know, another example is like Haley Deegan in NASCAR. She has the biggest social media following out of any NASCAR driver, whether it's Cup Series, Xfinity, trucks, whatever. He's bigger than Dale Jr. And, you know, you go on social media and you read, and everyone's like, oh, she sucks. She's terrible. She wrecks and blah, blah, blah. She got an Xfinity ride in Vegas, and she was 13th. So top 15 or whatever she ended up placing. And, like, the trucks, she always gets crashed out because it's just a bunch of young people just trying to get a seat, you know, basically. But, like, there's so much sponsor money behind her. Like, she is always going to have a seat to fill until she just can't hack it. I mean, she can run top 20 for the rest of her life, and there's always going to be a seat for her to drive in. And that's just because there's sponsor dollars and money behind, you know, her getting in a car. And I think, like, having Jegs get in on that, and, you know, all the vendors besides, like, derby vendors besides a few, I mean, most guys are doing it as a side deal, you know, so there's not millions of dollars to throw at advertising or thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars like big time NASCAR stuff. But I think that show, Jag stepping up, is kind of in the right direction. I don't know. Yeah. Because I mean, look at Postal and NLR and all them guys. I mean, they are sponsoring pretty much most things, I guess. And it'd be tough. I mean, I know Mavis does it full time, and that's their gig, you know. So it's different. But I mean, there's only so much of that type of money to go around. I mean, I'm sure they budget for X amount to, you know, sponsor or promote or whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, just like other business, you know.
The marketing side is tough. You know, we try to get our events, our name, everything out as much as possible, you know, with social media, and then with other things, you know, between radio or billboards or whatever. For like our car show, we do a lot of that, just trying to get more cars there, obviously, and get that reach out there. But people don't realize, you know, getting on the radio only for like a couple weeks is a couple $1,000. Getting on a billboard's like $600 a month. You know, things like that they're not cheap. So I don't I don't blame like some of those bigger guys. It's tough to, send out money all the time for these sometimes little shows. They're more so going to want to be seen on the big scene. Um, unlike a big company like Jegs, I would assume they got a little more money to play with.
Sure.
But even now, like with Timeless, we get a lot of calls. People want sponsors, and we try to sometimes, but we just don't have the revenue stream to be sending out money all the time.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, not saying I get asked all the time. I try to do as much as I can. Like, a lot of times I'll do stuff at cost, but I mean, still costs me money to do some of that stuff, and I'm kind of just trying to do what I can or whatever. But yeah, it's so like I don't know, the radio thing's tough. I hate. Hopefully, I don't make any radio people mad. I know we're like it's such not worth it. I don't know. We have this conversation at work all the time. Like, oh, should we put this ad money into the radio? I'm kind of like, why? It's point. I mean, your dollar goes so much farther on Facebook and different things than it does going to the radio or the newspaper or whatever. I mean, how many? That's the reason podcasts exist, is because people don't listen to the radio anymore. Why is Spotify a multi-billion-dollar company? People don't really listen anymore. I mean, why is Sirius a thing? I don't know. It's tough.
And for the most part, it's free. I mean, to listen to most people, unless they have some sort of subscription, but
yeah,
it's free. It's what you want to listen to. It's not a redundant message. The radio is pretty. You hear the same song, or you hear the same ad, or you hear the same story. And podcasts, you get exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah, and it kind of, I don't know, like the Derby, like the streaming and just the Derby thing in general, it kind of even goes back to like the local business side of the world, small business. Like, people spend, I don't even know what DirecTV or something costs, but people spend $200 or $300 a year for that, or well, probably even more than that, or like your cable is $1,200 a year, whatever it is. But then when it comes to like streaming Blizzard Bash for $30 for the weekend, oh, that's too expensive, or going to a show, like, oh, that's too expensive. Like, I don't know. There's not enough money to go around to make everything work, but sometimes it's, I don't know. People are like, oh, that's too expensive for that. It's too expensive for this. It's like, well, I don't know. Just support what you want to support, I guess. That's all I can say, really.
Right.
Like, and I'm not friends with everybody running a Blizzard Bash, but at least, I mean, the ones that I am, they all got their team T-shirts or whatever. Like, I don't know, spend $20, $25, and get Ass Kickers T-shirt. Talk to Toddy's wife now, and like those guys or whoever it is. Or I know CPI's got them, Cal Soda Style. Jill's got they all got T-shirts. Like, I don't know, spend $20 on that, get their T-shirt. I mean, I know it helps them get down there, whether gas or whatever they use it for. But I saw something like NASCAR the other day. They were like, one guy was like, I think it was like an Instagram comment or whatever it was. Like I said, I'm a nerd and look into all that stuff way more than I should. But they're talking about Dale Sr., and they're like, I don't know how many listeners know the whole story about DEI and how Dale's ex-wife was like, they call her the Wicked Witch of South Carolina or North Carolina or whatever, because she took all the money from Dale Jr. But anyway, they're like, people spend $100 to buy Dale Earnhardt flags and T-shirts and give her the money versus like buying a Ross Chastain shirt, like the new guys in the sport, and supporting them guys. Like, they'll buy his stuff and he's been gone for 20 years, but not the guys that are trying to make it. And I kind of see that same thing with the Derby thing, support the guys that are trying to put on these shows, and the county fair stuff. It's tough. I don't.
No, it even goes down to this podcast. I get a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot. I get a few texts, like what you're doing, this and that. I hope it grows. You should do this or that. But and then on the flip side, they don't ever like or subscribe or nothing. It's like, I get it. It's fine, but sure would like if they would. It's just supporting me, and we can only get bigger and better if more people are coming in here listening. I can only get better with new ideas, what to do, who to interview, or anything, what to talk about. But without anybody actually giving an opinion and supporting us. It's just kind of doing it on my own.
Yeah, it's like that other Facebook thing that's going to probably be circulating here pretty soon with Black Friday and everything, like the small business deal. Like, it's free to support your friends with small business. Like and share their Facebook page or comment something nice on there. I mean, yeah, it's so. Yeah, I mean, I think I have 700 now on like my graphics page or whatever, but my friends or whatever, they've all been really good about commenting on like the stuff on We Crash, people looking for stuff or sharing the stuff I do. And like, I can tell, I mean, not saying everything I post I expect to get 1 million likes on or whatever, but the stuff that has like 2 guys share it gets a lot more traction because you can look at the analytics or whatever. Gets so much more traction than just the regular posts that don't, I guess, just a like or whatever. And I do really good on Facebook for a little bit, and then I kind of stink at it for a while, but it's tough when you're not going to shows, you don't have cool pictures, I guess.
Yeah, I try to stay on top of it as much as possible, but sometimes I just don't even know what to put on. I don't want to be the guy that just keeps posting the same thing over and over again. Other than like these podcasts, I keep sharing stuff like that, but I don't know. Hopefully it gets it out there for people.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you want to talk about podcasts and stuff, but some of the stuff we've texted back and forth, like, I don't know, that's exciting. Like there's you said like an F1 team or something. I'm like, wow, in the heck, like,
Yeah, so I've been just basically cold messaging people and whatever I think would be cool, or if they got, not gonna lie, if they got a little bit of a following, I'm gonna more apt to message them because I want to grow too. But on the flip side, the few people I have talked to, they're more than willing because they want to grow on this platform as well, and it'll show them, and hopefully on this platform, and they can share it to their friends. So that's kind of the aim right now.
It's tough, and I watch a lot of. I don't know. I watch some podcasts with a lot of YouTube or whatever, but it's tough because like there's a ceiling of people. Because once they get above that ceiling, they're gonna want paid for anything they ever do. I mean, they're not free. Like once you get into the sponsored type people, but like when I think of like the global scheme of things, like F1 is like at the tippy top of motorsports, in my opinion. Like it would be. I know we're not huge F1 people in America, just like we're not huge soccer people, but I mean. F1 and soccer are like the tippy tops of, ball sports, motorsports. I think Netflix has that F1 documentary, and how many movies are F1, and like F1 is huge.
No, it's super true. If you look up, before starting this podcast, I did a lot of research on the different motorsports podcasts, and like, I don't want to be the guy doing the same material as everyone else, and yeah. There's a couple Derby guys out there, and I don't want to be just Derby. I tell everyone that I want to cover everything. And there's not many that cover everything, but if you type in motorsports on any platform, you're going to get like 30 F1 motorsports platforms, and it's huge. So I guess for people not watching but listening, in the near future, we will have a F1 team coming on. Pretty excited for it. I'm actually really excited. We're traveling down to Nebraska to meet up with them.
Yeah, so like when I started this graphics deal, like you always think, and probably obviously the same way you guys are thinking, like how to expand it, and like you can see the writing that podcasting, YouTube, like that's kind of like the way. Well, I'm out TikTok, I guess, but it's kind of the way things are leaning as far as like growing or whatever. But like I told Kelsey, I was like, I want to figure out how to do a podcast. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. Just that's what I think a guy needs to do. But then like my biggest thing and hold back, I don't know like what I would do. Cause like I'm on the fire department, so I'm kind of, a nerd about that stuff. It's like, oh, I want to talk about fire department stuff. Well, we're not a paid department. We don't do enough. Like there's no way I could have a podcast all the time. It's like, okay, then Derby. It's like, okay, yeah, but then it's like, well, I like motorsport. Like, I just don't know how I would pin it down to like one thing to talk about. So I'd rather just get on yours and help you when I can, because then at least we can talk about one thing the whole time.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to be limited either, and we've talked about it, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I've been talking about doing a podcast for oh gosh, year and a half, been telling my partner, got to do it. And he's busy. So, when he can, he'll hop on and be a co-host, but majority of the time it'll be me and, whoever I find to be a guest. So I just finally took the leap, 3 episodes in now. Just hopefully keep on going, keep finding good guests.
Well, and that's kind of when I was texting you about, I was like, I can try to help as much as I can or whatever. Like, I don't want to take it away from you guys. Obviously, it's with your brand, but, I mean, try to have connections or whatever. Obviously, Brent and Liz did great on theirs, and Cody and Elaine did too. I mean, they're different things to talk about, but you just tell, like, not that I've been on a million podcasts either, but just not, just the flow of stuff. I probably talk too much, but just kind of help me out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, everyone I talk to, I just talk. I mean, you don't got to feel reserved or anything. Just talk, be open. That's why we're here. Want people to hear what it actually is on our side of things, on the motorsport side of things, on the business side of things, instead of, like we talked earlier, a scripted message. We just want to be us.
Yeah, and it's kind of amazing. Like another example is the You Betcha guy. Like, you listen to his podcast, like how much business stuff they actually kind of talk about, like just the insight of different things. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you might not hit on a motorsport thing that somebody listens to, but like the business side, I think all that relates somewhere or another to everything, whether it's you guys promoting my graphics, my real job, like whatever, it all intertwines and stuff. And I don't know, I think that stuff probably hits pretty good when, somebody can shed some light on how their business works, because then you think about different things and whatever.
Right. Yeah, I know my wife had mentioned to me the other night, do you always have to talk about motorsport stuff when you're on there? I said, well, I mean, that's kind of what we're based around, but, even if it's just we talk a little bit on it and we talk about the other things that they're doing, just kind of share everything. That's what I think people want to hear. We're not just doing Timeless, we're not just doing events. We flipped our business and turned it into a property group as well. So we're trying to go in different avenues than this podcast. So there's so many things going on, and people don't even realize it until you physically talk to them. Just like you were mentioning.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I don't know. Yeah, just not somebody that's like directly involved or whatever. One thing I think of is like there's got to be some lawyer that specializes in like liability for motorsport, and you guys probably have one or some sort of that. Like, I don't know, have them on one time, just kind of talk about the ins and outs, and like, not even necessarily like, not everybody's going to promote a show, but maybe if they hear like that side of it, maybe they would ease up on the promoters a little bit. They can only do so much, and I'm sure there's a lot of liability. And I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you've had some discussion with one if you don't have one or whatever. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, we work pretty consistently with one lawyer, and then we work very consistent with like one insurance company. They kind of both go hand in hand. Both got to approve our stuff before anything can get done. I think people, so everyone's so used to the county shows. You just show up, you sign the release form, and you go on with your day. But I don't think people realize most of the times that form means nothing in court. It probably wasn't vetted by a lawyer, nothing.
Yeah, so like, speaking of that liability form, like when I was in college, that was when the whole like electronic posting, no hunting thing in North Dakota really started. And there was a Nodak Insurance. He's specialized in liability law or whatever he does, I guess. But I asked him when I was kind of visiting, because it's like, if you have your property posted, how did it go? Like, that's why like you should post it, because then you're telling people like, don't come on this. But if you don't post it, you're just letting people on. If like I go on your property, even if I'm trespassing, or like, I don't know, hunting's weird, but like if I go on there and break my ankle, even though I didn't have permission, but if you don't have it posted, well, then you're liable for it. And then it's like, oh, what if they sign a liability? He's like, that liability waiver isn't worth the paper that is written on. And I'm like, because it's like, if they can prove you had negligence in any form, which is pretty much simple to do anymore.
Right.
Like even if it's not you tilled your field and I tripped on a dirt clump, like, oh, you're negligent because you didn't post a warning or whatever. Like everybody's so like sue happy, and like that's what's so tough about Derby too, like the whole cage steal and all this stuff. It's like, God, guys, like we're our own worst enemy. It's like you're just asking for this to just be over. Like one more person or something that happens like that, or negligent, or like some of the promoters that are even like a county fair show or whatever it is that aren't is on top of things, let something fly and someone gets hurt. Like it's so easy to that's done. That show will never happen again. It's tough, and I just don't think everybody understands that entirely.
No, I mean we could lose our business overnight if something like that happened, and the drivers sign the waivers and are responsible for their actions. And then it never used to be a thing probably 10, 15 years ago, but now we have to insure the spectators as well. That's a whole nother realm of insurance, and like some of our bigger shows, by the time we're done for a weekend, insurance is $3,500 just to insure our spectators and our workers that set up, pre and post the event. So it's, we as Timeless as well carry our own liability. So we're covered. Yeah, absolutely.
Have to, and that's even tough. Like, and I don't, maybe it's kind of one of them things is it's not a problem until it becomes a problem type of deal. But yeah, these smaller shows that a Lions Club or a fire department or whatever put on, like I don't know. It's tough. Like the whole liability thing is a wild thing. Like I know fire departments carry really good insurance, liability insurance, but I don't know if it, push came to shove, if it would really cover anything on that side of things. You have to get pretty creative. Like I know they're nonprofits and different things, but I don't think that matters when something bad happens.
Right. Well, I believe that's what I got for you. I appreciate you coming on, Nevada.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime you need somebody, I guess.
Yeah.
Sport next time, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and anyone listening, go look up Nevada 22 GFX Designs. He can hook you up on about anything. He's done a lot for us and does great work.